going on, and we will know what's up. Okay? So and hopefully we'll have a full detail for you of everything that's happening. Give you all the details as soon as we have them. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Up next, National Democrats are coming to Washington State for the Seattle cash machine, and Fergie is helping raise money for them. This guy can't walk and chew gum at the same time, but this is what he's involved in. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Why do all these national Democrats come out here to campaign? Well, they're out here using the Seattle ATM, the Democrat cash machine, which is out here. They're going to have a lot less money soon because all them millionaires are getting that income tax. So is everybody else, for that matter. Oh, and then they may not be here. Oh, I guess you're not hitting up Nick Hanauer, are you? He's not here no more. Hey, how about Howard Schultz? Is he still? No, not Jeff Bezos. Any of those guys? No, they're all gone. Like, bye. They're all gone. Just like Katie Wilson said. Well, now, Democrat James Tallarico, who's running in Texas, came out here. And Turd Ferguson posted this on his personal social media account because that's not an ethics violation, right? Road to taking back Congress goes through Texas. Good luck with that. Look, Democrats may get back Congress, but I don't think they're going to win Texas. That's just a hunch. He said it was great to welcome James Tallarico to Seattle. Check him out. Well, we did check him out. And here's what he said about the border.
President Obama earned the title Deporter-in-Chief from immigration rights activists and aggressively expanded drone airstrikes across the world.
He wasn't big on that. He didn't like that. He wants the border to be more open. Apparently, Barack Obama was too strict on the border for him. Democrats aren't hiding the ball about what they have planned if they take back Congress. Their whole plan is to open the border to illegal aliens because it's the only way they're going to win elections. How do I know this? Representative Pramila Jayapal, the Democrat from Gaza, said as much to the Muslim Public Affairs Council. Well, I was kidding about that Democrat from Gaza thing. She's talking to the Muslim Public Affairs Council. Here's what she plans to do if the Democrats get back in.
And ICE and CBP have turned into completely unconstitutional agencies that have terrorized entire communities, killed U.S. citizens in our streets, and are jailing over 70,000 people every single night in immigrant incarceration facilities, regardless of immigration status. U.S. citizens, legal permanent residents, people with valid visas, every single night, 70,000 people. Those mass detention policies have been ruled illegal by over 420 judges across the country, including a majority of judges who were appointed by Donald Trump. So this is not a partisan issue in terms of our unconstitutional actions of this administration and the attempts to hold him accountable that are still pursued and prevailing in many cases through the lower courts. Racial profiling has been used as a tool with the Supreme Court's blessing. And the reenactment of racist and anti-Muslim policies like the Muslim travel ban have also contributed to restricting asylum and TPS for those who need it. Immigration processing, I serve as the top Democrat on the Immigration Subcommittee. I hope to be chair come November. But on immigration...
Hang on. Aside from the fact that half the stuff she just said there is nonsense, she hopes to be chair of the Immigration Subcommittee come November. If you had concerns about voting for Republicans, Pramila Jayapal wants to be in charge of the Immigration Subcommittee in Congress come November. That's what they want if they take back Congress. Hang on, it gets worse.
What we've seen is a complete slowing of all processing, of all legal applications. In fact, there was recently a study put out by the Cato Institute that said that the Trump administration has cracked down on legal immigration twice as much as on undocumented immigration. So let's be clear that this is an attempt to rid us of all immigrants, regardless of immigration status. Immigration is in many ways, in my view, a testing ground. If you can get away with this for immigrants, then you can extend it to all people, as we see with the efforts around denaturalization.
Oh, whoa. She says he's going to just start deporting all immigrants? That's the threat. See, the Democrats know their nonsense has a shelf life. They know that people aren't buying their Jim Crow 2.0 stuff anymore. So what they do instead is they put these scare tactics out. Donald Trump and Republicans are going to deport every single American who's naturalized citizen here in the country. They're going to deport you if they don't like you. They're going to deport you if you're a Democrat. Well, not a bad idea. They're going to deport you if you're an immigrant at all. This is pure fear-mongering. That's what they're doing. pure fear-mongering. That's all it is. But here's something else. When she says, here's what they're going to do, here's what they're going to do, here's what they're going to do. So we know that's what they want to do. They want to open up the borders to as many illegal aliens as possible. And then you're going to have Pramila Jayapal, the Democrat from Gaza, in charge of that. This is what she's promising this Muslim group. She's talking about the travel ban. Where was the travel ban from? Iraq, Iran, Syria, Lebanon. Countries that don't like us very much, that we have no way of vetting who these people are, no way whatsoever, that have a serious issue with terrorism. That's who she wants to let into this country. Hey, let's not forget who fought the Trump administration on that one. Oh, right, Turd Ferguson on behalf of CARE, the Council for American Islamic Relations, which is the unindicted co-conspirator, according to the Justice Department. Exactly, according to the Justice Department, of the largest terror financing trial in U.S. history. And she's mad about this. Luckily, we still have some common sense. So J.D. Vance was doing the press conference in the White House press briefing room today. I guess somebody's getting a little nervous about how Marco Rubio did the other day and also the polling numbers shifting. So now it's time for J.D. Vance to do his press conference in the press briefing room. Here's what he said about illegal immigration.
The biggest immigration fraud that existed under the Biden administration, it's not just that they let a flood of people across the southern border. That was obviously a very major problem and something I'm proud of the president for stopping. But it's also that they allowed the asylum and refugee claimant process to become totally fraudulent. And so here's what would happen, right? You would take a person who in normal cases would just be a traditional economic immigrant. Whether you let them into the country or not, they're trying to come because they want a better job, okay? They would come into the country and say that they were fleeing persecution, and they would say that they were an asylum claimant. And then effectively what the Biden administration would do is say, okay, you're an asylee, go into the interior of the country, here's a work permit, maybe come back in 10 or 12 years for your hearing on whether you actually have a legitimate asylum claim. So what did that mean? That meant that person was just completely given amnesty and released into the interior of the country. Well, what if that person was a criminal? What if that person actually had a violent history? We didn't do any of the work necessary to ensure that the people coming into our country claiming to be asylum claimants actually had anything legitimate or anything good in their background. So that is a serious problem. It is something that we have fixed in the Trump administration. But fundamentally, that loophole, you're going to see sometime in the future, somebody is going to try to exploit that loophole. And it's one of the things that we're very focused on in the fraud task force is making sure that the people who exploited that loophole are actually prosecuted for it, assuming they committed a crime.
Sometime in the future? Somebody's going to take advantage of that loophole? Have you not seen what's been happening across the country? You're head of the task force. Okay, I kid. Obviously, he's seen it. Obviously, he's calling it out. Pramila Jayapal is literally saying she wants to exploit it. Is literally saying that's what she wants to do if the Democrats take back Congress. That's how bad it could be. That's what's on the line this election season. I mean, like, this is from Kelly in Seattle. If what Pramila says is true, can we please start with her and Ilhan Omar? Yes, absolutely. In fact, J.D. Vance actually did say during the press conference that they're looking into Ilhan Omar's insanity. Forrest Cat calls her such a brilliant constitutional scholar. Yeah, not really. This one here from John and Auburn. Ari, I think Turd Ferguson needs to walk back his world-class city description of Seattle in light of the upcoming third World Cup. Yeah, why don't we just call it, yes, we're a third world-class city. That's what we'll do from now on. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Up next, charges in the UW stabbing, but the media framing is special. We'll examine that when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So yesterday, the suspect in the fatal stabbing of the UW student was finally charged. Now, if they had the goods to charge a hate crime, they would charge the goods on the hate crime. They would use all the goods, the full thing, because the person who was murdered identifies as trans. Yet, looking through these charging documents, that's not what the police say. They say the crime was not motivated by hate. So the suspect has been charged with first-degree murder. Normally, you'd see a hate crime enhancement. Normally, you'd see something like that. Christopher Michael Lee, 31, turned himself into authorities in Bellevue, Washington, days after the killing took place in Nordheim Court, a privately managed student housing complex. The victim, transgender 19-year-old Michael Juniper Blessing, was found stabbed to death inside the complex's laundry room on May 10th. Lee has been hit with a deadly weapon enhancement on the murder charge. He remains in jail on $10 million bail. Now, some people might say, Ari, they don't always charge this stuff up front. It's what can they do to hold a person. But then the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, they know there are so many eyes on this case, They said, quote, there is not evidence to show the crime was motivated by hate. So what was it motivated by? Now, mind you, all the leftist activists are probably still going to say, because of trans violence and Trump and blah, 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 blah. You name it. They're going to come up with all that. But this is literally the prosecutor. This is a Democrat prosecutor. This is a woke prosecutor. This is the prosecutor who got the hate crimes enhancements through the legislature as law. If they could prosecute on these, they would. But it doesn't seem like they have the grounds for it. So now I'm kind of wondering what the motivation was. Was it a serial killer? Was it a person who wanted to be a serial killer? Was it wrong time, wrong place? Was it somebody who really wanted to use the laundry machine? What's the actual motivation here? We'll follow this case as it goes on, but watch for the leftist spin on this. Just watch. It'll be out there. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Scott in Issaquah. Scott, what's going on, man?
Oh, nothing much. I'm tired. I've been listening. I've been out of state for a while.
Okay.
But, I want to talk about the immigration, but is it okay if I comment on what you were just talking about?
Yeah, go for both. We got a few minutes.
All right. Well, I guess I think there was 2 shootings in Canada that were both transgender just recently, and that's of course has nothing to do with it. And we've had lots of transgender shootings here. I mean, I believe it's a mental disorder. I mean, they've known it for years, and I don't know. They're using it, push their politics on everybody else as an excuse. Don't you say any bad thing
there's
about
a rumor. There's a rumor going around about the mosque shooting. We don't have the information for it, so I'm not going to put it out there. But notice, I don't think we have the identities fully or motivation of what happened there yet. There's a lot of stuff circulating on the interwebs. Yeah. I have a lot of questions about that. We don't know the details on that yet, though. But yes, absolutely. It's like now why is it called affirming? Because you're affirming somebody's delusions. It's not that you're living your truth or something like that, because then I'm going to go around and identify as a Jedi Master because I always wanted to be Luke Skywalker. Yes, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, and the thing with the hate crime thing, we all know, I remember when they invented that thing. That was invented by the Communist Party in this country to try to attack Christians that they hate. And that's an excuse to try to prosecute crimes that they disagree with.
Well, hang on a second here, Scott. I got a different issue with the hate crime enhancement. Here's my issue. What usually happens with the hate crime enhancements is if they can't prove the hate crime, they drop all the crimes. If you swastika a synagogue or a church or whatever it is, it's still vandalism, right? So you don't need the hate crime enhancement, but they throw all of it out the window.
Right, and the hate crime, I mean, anyone that goes and commits a mass shooting like this is obviously full of hate. I don't care who it is. It doesn't matter. I don't know how you go around killing people you don't even know half the time. It's just unbelievable.
Right. So isn't it hate no matter what? Ridiculous. What makes a specific hate crime?
Anything that the Democrats don't like. But I basically, on the immigration thing, at this point, I'm so disgusted with what's going on. I mean, I would say, and I don't care what anyone thinks, deport anyone that came. I don't care. Anyone that came here illegally at any time, even the ones that have been given amnesty, deport them all. anchor babies, I don't care. If you came here illegally, you broke our laws, you are a criminal, you don't belong here, you have no respect for our country. And you're not here because you want to work. You're here because you like the communism, you vote for the communists, and you get their free stuff. So guess what? You can go back to your own country if you're such a great person and take care of your own family.
Well, I think
your
my
own
problem
friends,
here
make
is,
your own
Scott, is
country
that
great.
we don't denaturalize people enough who are convicted of crimes. If you're convicted of a crime, I say that's it. We're done with you. You had your shot at the American dream, and instead you tried that.
Coming here illegally is a fraud.
Exactly. Well, not
Fraud.
just
That's
that,
fraud.
but they keep coming back
It's
and
tax
back
fraud.
and back,
It's-
and that's already a felony. Scott, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. John says over on the text line, was this a hot date surprise gone bad? That's what a lot of people are theorizing about the UW thing. We don't know. I actually think if it was that, they'd probably be able to do the hate crime thing. They probably would because, well, just think that through for a second there, John. That's this one. I mean, a lot of people on the text line all have this theory. We don't know all the details yet. This is something we will have to follow. We'll have to see all the details on. So this is something we will follow. We'll follow the case. We'll look at the charging documents more and more. But the other thing we're going to be following is more fraud disclosed in King County, more fraud disclosed with daycares, more fraud disclosed with regular schools. And now are the authorities getting involved? We'll have the details for you up next. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, listen for your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Listen for your chance to hear that keyword. And also, OSPI is open to $30 billion worth of fraud. But before we get to any of that, my friends, we've told you before about all the money, they don't know where it is, they can't audit it with DCHS. This audit is getting worse and worse and worse. So King County's Office of Ombuds has released an independent review, according to Como News, that found nearly $700,000 in questionable costs tied to youth diversion and community-based programs administered through the Department of Community and Human Services. These guys already have billions of dollars in fraud, or excuse me, I shouldn't say fraud. Alleged fraud, unaccountable funds, yeah. Inauditable, unauditable. This is crazy already. When are you going to bring in the cops? The report, prepared by accounting firm Clark Nuber and commissioned by the Ombuds Office, reviewed 19 community organizations connected to 4 DCHS programs, identified $690,617 in question costs across 224 transactions involving 16 organizations. The review found evidence suggesting that, quote, waste, fraud, or abuse likely occurred in some instances and could not be ruled out in others without further investigation. At least now they're finally admitting it, right? What was it before? We can't audit all those funds, but there's no fraud. There's no fraud. Well, how do you know? If you can't audit something, you have no idea. I love the feature that banks have now where you can just go online and see a picture of the check that you wrote. All right. Oh, right. Right. I completely forgot about that check. Normally, you're all geared up. I don't know what this one's for. What's this one for? It must be fraud. And then you see the picture and you're good to go. The report confirms exactly what I was afraid we'd find when I started calling out for an audit all the way back in 2023, said County Councilmember Reagan Dunn. These programs can't just be left to operate on their honor. They need oversight and regular scrutiny to ensure taxpayer dollars actually reach the people they are intended to help. According to the Ombuds Office, the report will be referred to the Washington State Auditor's Office, and certain findings indicating possible fraud, forgery, or attempted theft will be sent to law enforcement for further review. Now, what I'm skeptical of is they only found $700,000. We're talking about billions of dollars here. Billions of dollars, and they only found $700,000. It goes, all right, who's going to take the hit for this? It's like the movie Gangs of New York when they go, we need some people who aren't affiliated to go hang today. We need to find some people. That's what this is. So the evaluation focused on contracts tied to 4 DCHS programs: Family Intervention and Restorative Services, Liberation and Healing from Systemic Racism. Oh, you mean one of the George Floyd spontaneous organizations that propped up to fight racism might be fraudulent? Restorative Community Pathways. Oh, another one of those. And Stopping the School to Prison Pipeline. Wait. Were these all the Summer of Love organizations? Sure seems like it. The programs are funded through a mix of county funds, voter-approved levies, and City of Seattle tax dollars. You think maybe we have a whole bunch of problems with our budget because we're funding things like this that don't actually do anything? Clark Nuber identified 5 primary areas of concern: question costs, potentially altered documents, possible conflicts of interest, because we've seen that a bunch of times before. Like, for example, how people in these programs are funneling money to their relatives, documentation gaps, and poor financial management systems. Well, you wouldn't want to have good financial management systems if you're altering documents. Among the findings were unsupported cash withdrawals, stipends paid outside the organization, outside approved activities, unauthorized subcontractors, and expenses incurred outside contract periods. Investigators also identified 4 instances of potentially altered documents, 6 potential conflicts of interest involving community partners. You know, I was synagogue president for 4 years. I was vice president for a few years before that. I had a bunch of jobs on the executive board. I basically was on my synagogue's board for close to 18 years. I don't think I ever had access to the money. Ever, ever, ever. And then when they made me a signer on the account, I said, guys, switch it over to 2-person. Switch it over to 2-person. No one person should have this much power. And then it gets audited. And we have bookkeeper, and you got a treasurer, and you got all these people looking at this. But you're telling me our government doesn't have any of that? One of the most significant potential conflicts involve payments made to a consultant identified as a relative of a DCHS program manager overseeing contracts for 2 community organizations. You know, it's like having my son work here. When my son was an intern here at the station, he didn't even work for this station. He worked for another station in the cluster. That's how above board we want to be around here. The report also found 81 instances in which documentation was missing or insufficient to validate transactions, including missing invoices, payroll records, and payment confirmations. I don't understand. Even with Quicken, I reconcile my books every month. You guys don't. Oh, you only do it when it's fraudulent. But here's a better question. Reagan Dunn was the only one on the King County Council saying we need to audit this. He was the only one. What purpose does the King County Council serve if they don't look into any of this? Investigators said weak financial controls within DCHS and some community organizations contributed to the problem, particularly as the department rapidly expanded during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. Stop. That is factually false. It had nothing to do with the pandemic. What did it have to do with? It had to do with what was going on at the same time as the pandemic, my friends. The riots of the summer of love of 2020. That's what was going on. It had nothing to do with the pandemic. Racism was because of the George Floyd riots. It wasn't because of the pandemic. It was because of the pandemic that you had bigger riots because people were trapped in their homes and they wanted an excuse to be out and about. So let's go destroy things. According to the Ombuds memo, DCHS grant funding grew from $922 million in 2019-2020 to more than $1.8 billion in 2023-2024. Reagan Dunn first called for a state audit in 2023 after raising concerns about juvenile diversion and community-based programs. Notice we had something similar here. Wasn't money improperly funded through Tammy Morales' office at City Hall, like $1.5 billion? And then all of a sudden, poof, goodbye, all right, with no investigation. Nope, we're not going to talk about that at all. In 2024, Reagan Dunn requested that the King County Auditor conduct a financial and performance audit of restorative community pathways. That audit, completed in 2025, identified serious weaknesses in DCHS oversight and financial controls, which led directly to this review. The office recommended that DCHS pursue recovery of improperly paid funds, develop debarment criteria for contractors, and strengthen financial oversight tied to taxpayer-funded grants. It also recommended broader county reforms, including stronger ethics rules, whistleblower protections, and expanded subpoena authority for the Ombuds office. Hey, how about this? How about you just do the audits more often? DCHS disputed part of the report's conclusions. Oh, just part of it? The rest of it you can't dispute? Arguing that the total amount of potentially improper payments should be closer to $320,000. Wait a second. Hang on. You think that's a defense? Oh, no, guys, it wasn't $400,000 in waste, fraud, and abuse. It was only $320,000. Somebody's got to go to jail for that. For that alone. No. We know what we're doing. It's not $446,000. It's just $300,000. That's not better. That is not the own you think it is. The department said some question costs reflected documentation deficiencies rather than confirmed financial loss. Oh, wait, that's so much better. So $320,000 of it might be fraud, but the other $100,000, that's because we suck at our jobs. Oh, I laugh to keep from crying. The department said it already implemented new anti-fraud training. Okay, anti-fraud training. All right, guys, they caught us for this. So here's what we're going to do this time to circumvent the fraud. So that way the fraud detection. Contractor oversight policies and fiscal compliance procedures. Shut down the department. Shut the whole thing down until they can prove they are operating above board. Dunn said the county council has already passed grant oversight reforms requiring stronger financial controls, contractor training, and monitoring requirements. He said he is now working with colleagues on legislation to establish the Inspector General Division and strengthen county ethics laws. I have a question. Is any department in King County or the state not fraudulent? Really? I mean, we talk about the King County Regional Homeless Authority. That thing's been fraudulent since it was established. No wonder now we have to figure out what to do with it. Now, the Center Square has a fun little article here. A city council committee is directing Mayor Katie Wilson to make a recommendation by August 1st as to the fate of the troubled King County Regional Homeless Authority. The resolution approved by the council's Human Services, Labor, Economic Development Committee on Friday mirrors actions taken by the King County Council on May 5th, which directed King County Executive Gurmay Zahalai to make the same decision. Okay. Do you think that socialist Katie Wilson and socialist Gurmay Zahalai are actually going to vote to kill a taxpayer ripoff like this? No, we're going to reform it. We're going to reform it. Let's take bets now. What do you guys think? You think they're going to vote to kill it or reform it? They should kill it. My guess is August 1st rolls around, and then they say, nope, we're going to reform this thing. We're going to prove that socialism just hasn't been done right yet. We could do it right ourselves. Just watch. Just watch. Both Wilson and Zahalai said they have serious concerns about the April forensic audit that found the agency couldn't fully account for $13 million in funds and was running a $45 million deficit. You know, if they're admitting to the $13 million, it's probably a lot higher than that. A lot higher. Either one of them could kill this. Just one of them needs to say we're killing it. So maybe if they could take a break from their third World Cup duties, maybe. Oh, actually, we had somebody over on the text line suggest it should be called the Turd World, which is good too. Maybe they could take a break from all the photo ops with, toilet paper rolls and portable bathrooms. Yeah, flush the turd. Maybe if they could take a break for like 30 seconds, then maybe, just maybe, they could decide this whole thing is fraudulent. They said, quote, following the King County Regional Homeless Authority forensic evaluation, we are bringing forward this resolution to establish a clear framework for accountability, oversight, and transparency. Aha, we got caught. Now we need to fix it. Do you think they'll actually do it? Let me know. Do you think they're going to shut down the King County Regional Homeless Authority, or do you think they're going to let the grift continue? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Meanwhile, talking about waste, fraud, and abuse and grifting, Senator Jamie Peterson got cornered by our friend Carlene Johnson of the Center Square, asking about, you guys really consult with the AG's office a lot on circumventing a vote of the taxpayers on things like the income tax. Is that standard operating procedure?
Number one, it is absolutely normal for legislators to consult with the Attorney General's office on bills. I mean, I hope citizens would want their legislators to consult lawyers before they draft laws, right? That's a completely normal thing. Second thing, the court has now said what we said all along, which is the referendum power does not apply to tax measures, period. It doesn't matter whether we put language in there or not. The point that Noah Purcell was making to me was that it becomes easier for the Secretary of State if the legislature has made that explicit.
So originally, though, it seemed like the way the bill was drafted, it did not include anything about a referendum in there.
Because it didn't need to. It didn't need to. Because it's a tax measure, Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution says it's not subject to referendum. It is, of course, subject to initiative, and that's what will happen now. But it is not subject to referendum. It doesn't matter whether we put that language in there. The only reason that that's important is because it signals to the Secretary of State what they should do.
Okay, this is complete BS. But basically, Senator Jamie Peterson was revealed in these internal emails that the Center Square got a copy of, mostly between him and Attorney General Nick Brown, discussing how to craft the bill as a challenge to the 1933 decision, which made progressive income taxes illegal under the state constitutions. Quote, I would like to force the Washington Supreme Court to reconsider its case law that considers income to be property. So they're not saying, hey, can you help us draft a law? They're saying, how can we circumvent the law? How can we get around the law? And how can we tax the you-know-what out of people? A reminder for Nick Brown, who's the Attorney General. You're supposed to be representing us. You're supposed to be representing us, the people who pay your salary. The records also revealed discussions regarding the use of the necessity clause. The clause was intended to implement the tax immediately and bypass the public's ability to challenge it via referendum. And Peterson says there's nothing out of the ordinary with discussing this with Brown's office. This is all, and I got to use the word, a conspiracy. They want the income tax. They're going to do anything they can to get the income tax and screw you out of your money. That's why the initiative is so important. If you haven't done so already, people keep asking me all the time. Any video I post about gathering signatures, anything I post about Let's Go Washington, people keep going, where can I sign? Where can I sign? Go to letsgowashington.com. They will mail you an initiative sheet. Sign it, send it back. If you want to keep another one to go collect signatures from your friends, you could do that too. But go to letsgowashington.com, get those sheets, fill them out, send them back. And as I say all the time, have everybody in your house fill them out, then go collect them from other people, but send back the ones from in your house first. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Ben in SeaTac. Ben, what's going on?
Hey, Ari. Hey, Pramila Jayapal, she said that Trump wants to do all these denaturalizations, and it's true. And I hope that he does more than what is being reported. It's going to be like a couple thousand a year. I think it should be more like 20,000 a year. I think we have to do a lot of denaturalizations to save this country. I want all these Somalis out of here. I want Zarhan Mandami. Those people, like Jayapal, all these naturalized people that come here, just because they got naturalized doesn't give them a free pass. They could be denaturalized.
Well, here's the thing.
No way that
no, I agree with you. Here's the thing that I got an issue with, right? I say, here's my line, felony. I say if you are convicted of a felony, you lose your citizenship. That's it. End of story. Misdemeanors, all right, some states have interesting laws. But I say if it's a felony, you should lose your citizenship. I'm curious what KVI Nation thinks about that. Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Go ahead, Ben.
Well, I think ideology, though, is also a reason to be deported and to be naturalized because they're obviously communists. Just because with it, I don't think we can take away. I don't think we can take away citizenship for ideology because I think we got a problem with the First Amendment for that one. However, I will say this: if you're supporting a terrorist organization like Zoran Mamdani was doing 13 days after October 7th, out there chanting for Hamas, I think that's something to talk about. Ben, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Eben in Bonnie Lake says Democrats in Washington will let all grifts continue because it's the only thing they know how to do and the only way they can stay in power. Here's something else. Most of these people are lifelong government employees. They've never worked in the private sector. They don't know what to do with themselves. Lee says, I have an astute analysis today. Thank you, Lee. I appreciate that. I think I do as well. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Up next, more money issues. This time with creepy Chris Rakedahl's office. $30 billion could be open to fraud? We're going to have the analysis on that. Plus, what's at risk when we come back? You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I spoke earlier in the show about the amount of news that came in today, the amount of fraud news that came in today, and Washington State featured prominently in all of it. Washington State auditors now have a report out saying the computer system responsible for distributing $30 billion in education funding is outdated, unstable, vulnerable to failure, and has been flagged internally for years. A new audit from the Washington State Auditor's Office found the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, that's creepy Chris Rakedal, the school funding system lacks critical safeguards, relies on aging infrastructure, and depends heavily on a handful of longtime employees and single outside vendor to keep it running. Huh, interesting. Sounds like that's a bad way to run a company. You know, it's just like one person who knows how everything works. Yeah, that could be pretty bad. So, what happens here? You guys remember a story? Let's go way, way back to, 2020, where a certain governor decided, hey, you know what? We want to get that pandemic money out to people. Let's remove all the safeguards. Let's remove all the safeguards to make sure that fraud doesn't happen. And then billions of dollars disappeared from the unemployment fund and was stolen by Nigerian scammers. Who was that again? I think you're talking about me. Yes. That was Jay Inslee and Susie Levine. You remember that insanity? Apparently, auditors also revealed that OSPI was warned as early as 2024 that the system faced a high risk of catastrophic failure. So a system which distributes $30 billion? The system distributes state and federal funding to roughly 300 school districts, serving more than 1 million students statewide. According to the audit, the core system is now 17 years old. Hang on a second. Which version of Windows is that? Is that Windows ME or XP? I think that's XP. I think that's what we're talking about here. Relies on 8 interconnected feeder systems, all operating on the same infrastructure. The system must process extraordinarily complex calculations involving 128 separate input values and 119 layers of calculation detail while adapting to constant legislative changes in school funding formulas. Auditors found that because the software is so outdated, OSPI staff frequently rely on manual workarounds to make the system function. An approach the audit warned significantly increases the risk of errors and instability. Okay, so I got a question. How many errors have they made? How much fraud is there? How much waste is there if the system doesn't work? Auditors confirmed OSPI already knew the system was in serious trouble. A consulting firm hired by OSPI in 2024 reportedly warned that the apportionment system had a major weakness and vulnerabilities, describing it as high risk for catastrophic failure. So they've known about this thing for a while and they haven't fixed it yet? Despite those warnings, auditors found OSPI still lacked many of the basic controls expected for a system handling tens of billions of dollars. So not just the daycare system, but the actual school system might be at risk for fraud as well. The state auditor's office concluded OSPI lacks strong oversight and controls across nearly every major category of IT management, including system input, data processing, security oversight, and monitoring. All right, guys, let's go to the movie Hackers. Don't use the 3 magic passwords. Well, secret, sex, and God, right? That's what they were. Don't use those passwords. Don't do it. Don't use the combination for people's luggage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't use that one either. People can hack things, guys. I hear those are commonly used passwords. Don't use swordfish. Don't do it. The findings are the latest in a growing series of audits exposing weak oversight across Washington state government, including $1.3 billion in child care spending from 2021 to 2024, which was deemed unauditable because the state failed to maintain proper records. Additionally, auditors identified $37 million in questionable child care payments to King County. I mean, how many other things are we going to find issues with here? In each case, auditors identified the same recurring problems: outdated systems, weak documentation, poor internal controls, agencies relying on manual process instead of reliable verification systems. The report stressed that future accuracy depends entirely on whether OSPI fixes the larger systemic vulnerabilities now threatening the entire funding system. How long has Chris Rakedal had this job? Was he in his 3rd of 4-year terms? So this thing has been outdated for 17 years. It's 17 years out of date. And he's been in charge for 12 of them. and he hasn't done anything about it. Bravo. Well done, everybody. All right, you want some good news from our area? It's been a bad news kind of day. Let's give you some good news. Did you guys see that yesterday literally hundreds of Bothell High School students walked out of class after the North Shore School Board voted to eliminate the school's longtime school resource officer program? A decision many students said ignored overwhelming community support and misrepresented minority students. By the way, I'm putting a public call out there. I emailed the school district, and they're trying to find some kids willing to come on a conservative radio show. But I'll tell you this, guys, if your kid was involved in planning this stuff, putting it together over at North Shore, and they want to come on the radio and talk about why they want police officers on campus, I'll keep it apolitical, even for my Democrat friends. You send them to us. We'd love to have these kids on and highlight the work they're doing, because too often around here, we get the protests, which are for Hamas or for Hezbollah or for or anti-ICE, God knows what. It'd be really, really nice to finally have a protest that we actually support, because the kids say we're not safe. Now, I'm not sure if taking the whole school off campus and outside is really the safest thing to do, but I appreciate where you guys are coming from. I really, really do. What they're mad about is that the North Shore School Board said they're not going to continue funding the school resource officer. And here's something else, and this goes against everything that BLM stands for. Garrett Ware is the name of the armed Bothell Police Department officer who has served on campus since 2017. Hundreds of kids walked out advocating for a police officer on campus, because if he's your friend, you want him there. And these kids look at him like he's their friend. My favorite part of all of this, my absolutely favorite part, is that members of the school board said, well, it makes black students uncomfortable. Malik Lopez Terran, president of Bothell High's Black Student Union, pushed back against claims that minority students broadly oppose the officer's presence. He told Fox 13, we have had conversations during our club about the SRO program, and I could say only one student has ever expressed discomfort with our program. But we don't just remove a teacher whenever one student feels uncomfortable. That student doesn't represent our values as a whole. Well, I mean, it depends on what you mean by uncomfortable. If you feel uncomfortable around a creeper teacher, that's something else. But if you mean, I don't like that teacher because he's mean to me, I totally agree with you, kid. He also criticized district officials for invoking concerns from students of color without providing evidence to support those claims. Oh, is another one of those, oh, well, the students of color feel uncomfortable, and you didn't talk to the Black Student Union about this? He says they're using some reports of color students feeling unsafe with an officer on campus, but they're not able to provide the reports. Malik, if you want to come on the show and talk about all this, we are more than happy to have you. Really, I would love to discuss all of this. My kids are friends with all the security guards. They're friends with all the security guards at the schools, at the synagogues, everything. You name it. This is how you get kids to be comfortable around police. By having police around. Not by demonizing them and kicking them off campus and hiding them somewhere else and calling them bad names and protesting against them. That's not how you do it. Kudos to all the students at Bellevue High School who are trying to get the school resource officer back on campus. Well done, everybody. Speaking of police officers, by the way, one that you know is now running for public office when we come back. Former Seattle Police Officer Guild President Mike Solon has announced a run for office. We'll tell you which one. We'll tell you how you can help. And we'll tell you why he's doing it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. One of the most requested guests on the Ari Hoffman Show is always Mike Solon from the Seattle Police Officers Guild, because people love him. People know he fights for law and order. People know he fights for justice. Well, his term at the Seattle Police Officers Guild is now over, and he's looking for his next phase of life, and he has decided to run for Pierce County Council, District Number 7. And he joins us now on the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Mike, how you doing, man?
Ari, great to be back with you, my man.
It's great to have you. It's great to have you here. I got to say, it's really just wonderful to have you on the show. And tell me why you decided to go to Pierce County. I mean, you used to live in Seattle. You moved out of Seattle because of the activists. Tell us how this happened.
Well, yeah, I mean, as you know, I had about 100 people, the mob, march in my private home in West Seattle. And that was not comfortable, and it was completely unreasonable. So, and I've always been fond of Pierce County. We loved it down here when we visited. Thought it was an outstanding community. So I moved my family down here because it's a safe place, and the community, in our view, is top notch. But since we've been here almost 5 years now, and being immersed in somewhat of politics plaguing King County and then Pierce County, I'm witnessing our elected leaders here in Pierce County not really listen to the constituents that voted them into office. And I'm seeing a trend where taxation is out of control, fiscal irresponsibility. There's no respect for the tax dollar, and the voices are not being heard. And so, you know, I put my personal information in a trust to protect my identity, so I wouldn't have a mob march on my home where my kids are inside. And because, as you know, that's good security measures, not just common sense everyday citizen, but also as a police officer, because we get threatened a lot. And, well, given how much I've seen this county gravitate towards those unreasonable policies and fiscal irresponsibility, my wife and I talked about going public and trying to do something about it by running for elected office to stop what appears to be a progressive shift, a leftist agenda that is unreasonable. It's void of common sense. And I'm the guy that is supporting reasonableness and common sense and leadership. And that's what I hear when I talk to people in this community, is that that's what they desperately need from their elected leaders, and I'm going to provide it.
Well, I'll tell you this, is that they're clearly scared of you, and they're clearly worried you're going to upset the apple cart, because aren't they already trying to keep you off the ballot?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I filed for candidacy May 4th, and I never went public. I was keeping things on the down low because I wanted to watch what was going to happen. And sure enough, I got an email the day before the deadline to file your candidacy, and it says your candidacy has been rejected because you did not meet charter language. And what that meant is that you had to have a year of residency and voter registration. Well, I had no problem proving more than a year of residency. We've almost been here 5 years. But it was this voter registration gray wording that I thought was laughable. And it's my, at least what I know so far, is that somebody influenced somebody at the elected leadership side of things, and my name was pulled from candidacy. So I think they thought I was going to just roll over and give up. Well, RA, as you know, that's not in my DNA. And I sued them, and I won. And in fact, that civil suit changed charter language that's been in existence since the 80s. And so these people think that they can bully me into submission. Well, no. The ways of the old are over. The ways of not listening to your constituents are over. And it's time to bring back reasonableness, common sense, fiscal responsibility, and more importantly, public safety to the people of District 7 in Pierce County. Because I'm told, and I feel it, that they've had enough of not being listened to, and the disrespect to their tax dollars is through the roof. So I'm going to do something about it. I'm not going to be swayed or bullied out of this election. I'm going to do it with moderation, listening to people, taking their feedback, and connecting with the voters. And I think that they're desperate to hear that at the county level.
Yeah, I would agree. And this is the same nonsense they tried to do to you in Seattle. If you're just joining us, we are talking with our friend Mike Solon, who is now running for Pierce County Council. That's right. He's going to bring law and order back to Pierce County. So aside from the public safety kind of stuff, what else is at the top of your agenda? Give us 2 or 3 items that you're going to focus on when you get elected.
Well, number one, it's public safety, buddy. That's the number one thing, because unincorporated Pierce County has the least amount of deputies per capita in the entire state of Washington, and we're the 3rd largest county. It's unacceptable. Areas of the peninsula, the Key Peninsula in particular, there's only 18 deputies, 220 square miles. And some of those times, we don't have enough cops to answer the 911 call. So people feel unsafe. The second is, we got some significant spending problems here, and the taxation and the use of that money isn't really registering. And I think it's tied to the public safety dilemma of what programs are not working. And I'm going to look at what programs are, and then consult with other council members to see what we can cut to save money to then move into fair land use rights for the constituents. And then also, we have some aging infrastructure, particularly the Fox Island Bridge, which is failing. It's astonishing to me that they're talking about who's they. The elected leaders right now are talking about assessing the people who live on Fox Island to pay for this bridge or having a toll. And granted, there's only about 1,000 people on Fox Island, but that's a significant amount of pressure when they want more money for something that the government didn't budget for, but they knew that this bridge was failing and needed to be replaced. So for me, they're not being logical in their spending habits, and they're not preparing for the future. So what I just mentioned are the goals of what should be the goals of government, the basic foundation levels: public safety, infrastructure, tax spending. What are you doing with it, and are you preparing for the future, for those rainy days that come, i.e. a bridge that is in fail mode? And we need to replace it and be fiscally responsible to prepare for these inevitabilities.
Mike, if people want to volunteer for you, if they want to donate to your campaign, what's the best way for them to do so?
Best way to go is the Solon for Pierce. That's SOLAN for Pierce, FORPIERCE.com. You can find us on social media as well. SolonForPierce.com. Sign up for the newsletters, volunteer, and please donate, because I can tell you the energy coming from my opponents. They've already tried to remove me from the ballot, scrape me off of being able to run, and I beat them hands down, and a judge that agreed with me. But people need to get involved, because the money piece of this is going to be pretty significant. I've already been painted as an extremist, as you know, Ari, for years in Seattle, because I didn't go along to get along. But I was successful at the negotiation table, getting 2 positive contracts for the men and women of the Seattle Police Department. And I'm proud of that effort. And I'm going to continue that advocacy in moderation, in common sense and reasonableness. And if I'm painted as an extremist, well, then I guess we're all extremists if we want those basic 3 things. And I welcome all the smoke. And I can't thank you enough for having me on. And I just need people to vote. You got to vote. And I don't want people to feel defeated. I also feel as if people don't feel as if they're being heard by their elected leaders. They're not being heard at all. And so then their energy, their motivation to do something about it wanes, and they feel this defeatist attitude. Well, not with this campaign. This is going to be positive energy. It's going to be respectful. It's going to be a moderate. And I can tell you, you have a voice in me. I'm going to stand for you.
That's Mike Solon. He's running for Pierce County Council. He should have your vote. He should have your donations. He should have your support. He should have your volunteer efforts. Mike Solon, best of luck to you, buddy. We'll be following. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Good man. All right. Thank you, sir.
We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Now is your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today, we are giving away a pair of tickets to Bingo Loco at the Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. All you got to do is text the keyword that I give you to the number I give you for your chance to win. Now, before I give you the keyword, let me tell you a little bit about Bingo Loco. It's bingo on steroids. It's an interactive stage show, which takes the concept of bingo and switches it on its head by turning it into an immersive party. The show features comedians, DJs, prizes, you name it. Lots of great stuff. So you can get the tickets, which are on sale now at snowcasino.com. That's SNO casino.com. Now, if you want to win these tickets, here's what you got to do. You got to text the keyword to the number I give you. Today's keyword is jackpot. 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 Text the word to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757 for your chance to win. I don't know if you saw this earlier today. The United Nations is now saying the world isn't going to end. The United Nations. The United Nations-backed Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has quietly adjusted its modeling framework of a 4 to 5 degrees Celsius warming by the year 2100 last month. Wait a second. Hang on. For people that have been following this a while, this is the one that says we're all going to die because of global warming. The framework was used for all the climate change insanity. This is Jay Inslee's Bible. This is what they based everything on. And now they're saying it's not going to happen. Now, for those of you who don't speak nerd and don't speak science, this is where this comes from. The idea that if we don't do anything, the world could come to an end. We need to act now. Oh, you mean that was all a lie? That was all BS? That was all based on nonsense science? None of it was actually true? That's what we're saying here? That's what we're saying. Oh, gee, if only some people had called that out beforehand. So you're saying spending gajillions of dollars isn't going to fix the environment? So that's what you guys are saying? I'm just making sure I got this right. I'm playing catch up here. So you guys quietly did that. No press release, no nothing. Just subtly slid that in there. And I haven't heard any Democrats say anything about it. President Trump, however, said good riddance after 15 years of Democrats promising that climate change is going to destroy the planet. The United Nations top climate committee just admitted its own predictions were wrong. President Trump wrote on Truth Social. Yeah, anybody with a brain knew they were wrong. I'm going to have to reach out to our friend Todd Myers about this. He's the math guy. I'll ask him about this and what this really means for everything. But basically, the guy who's crying today is Jay Inslee, trying to figure out how to spin this. What do I do? How do I spin this? What can I possibly do about this? Yeah. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues. Looks like Washington State has been spending millions of dollars on trans surgeries. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, our final hour free for all your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, give us a call or a text on the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, surprising election results, especially out of Kentucky. But before we get to any of that, time for a story you're not going to get anywhere else.
Talk Radio 570 KVI, an Ari Hoffman Show exclusive.
This morning I was sitting at home minding my own business, having my breakfast. I load up my email, and there's a public disclosure request sitting there, which I had requested a very, 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 very long time ago. I open it up, and what does it tell me? The amount of money that Washington State has spent on trans surgeries going back to 2019. From 2019 until 2026 so far, they have spent close to $5 million on gender-affirming care for trans inmates. That means people currently incarcerated in Washington State jails. They have spent $4.8 million. And here's what's worse. The costs have been accelerating in recent years. Hundreds of thousands of dollars from that came through Medicaid payments, even as Washington Democrats cut Medicaid spending elsewhere. Not for the trans inmates. No. They got to have their boob jobs. Regular female prisoners don't get boob jobs. But if you're a dude who wants to be a girl, then you get a boob job. According to the public disclosure request we got, the Department of Corrections itself paid approximately $4.46 million, while Medicaid contributed an additional $394,237 towards procedures and treatments. The largest category of spending was listed as general procurement, procedure, treatment expenses, totaling more than $3.2 million. Records also show approximately $527,000 spent on bottom surgeries. Yes, use your imagination. And nearly $586,000 spent on top surgeries. Roughly $62,000 spent on laser hair removal surgeries. Laser hair removal surgeries. Interestingly enough, in Washington State, you got to be 18 years or old to go and get waxed or laser hair or any of that kind of stuff to authorize it. But you can get your junk cut off at the ripe old age of 13 here in Washington State. So I was wondering, how much does $62,000 buy you of laser hair treatment? I mean, for example, if I decided I needed laser hair removal surgery, it probably would cost every penny of the $62,000 that Washington State has allocated towards it. I mean, imagine shaving a Wookiee and then making sure it doesn't grow back. That's what we're talking about here, right? They call me Chewbacca for a reason, right? See, Kevin's giggling at that one. You like that one, didn't you?
Yeah. You're a hairy man. Yeah.
Yes.
You're
Yes, indeed. Man. Yes. Yeah. I don't know where it comes from. I mean, you know, I look at my parents and they don't look like this, but whatever. I mean, things happen.
If you could only transplant from anywhere else on your body to the top of your head, man.
I got it in all the places I don't want it, and I'm losing it in the places that I do. This is sad. Super, super sad. Whatever. It keeps me warm in the winter. Anyway, doing a little...
the laser would have to be the size of like a teleportation beam. It'd just cover your whole body.
Zap me out? No, you know what it would be? It'd be like in the Bond movie Goldfinger, right? You just lay me on the table and this massive industrial laser just takes everything right off. You can carve your name in the back of that sucker. It'll be like that scene in 40-Year-Old Virgin with Steve Carell. We'll just rip that right off. Kelly Clarkson. That's what it'll be like. That's what we'll do. So I was kind of curious. I mean, are these dudes who are in prison who are getting the laser hair removal surgery? How much does this cost? So I had a relative of mine look up the place that they go to in the 5 towns of New York. High end. We went high end for this one, okay? So here we go. At this place in the 5 towns, which you do need to be 18. You can't just go in there without your parents' permission, by the way. The upper lip, chin, hands, and fingers, feet, and toes, and a body part I'm not going to say on air, $60 per session. If you get the package of 8,
it's $45 per session. Now, because I've never done this, does that mean when you do 8, you're done? Or is that just 8 gets you through the year? So these are perpetual things you do? You don't just get lasered off and then you're done? I mean, I assume waxing you have to do more than once, right?
My understanding is it's tough to get all of the follicles or whatever. So it's like it takes, several treatments is my understanding.
I see. So you do the first treatment like wedding day or something. And then after that, if you really want to get rid of it, you got to go back for the rest of them.
Yeah, because I think, again, I don't know why I know this. My understanding is the laser stuff is to permanently get rid of
That's what
the
I
hair.
thought too.
Right. But it takes a lot, that's why there's probably 8.
Yes.
They probably think, somewhere around 8, and it'll get pretty much all of it gone.
You know, my stepmom used to do this she used to do the procedures. I'm just going to call her.
Yeah,
I don't know why I didn't think of it. That's who I should have just called with this kind of stuff.
When you bring up Kelly Clarkson and the waxing scene, like that's not permanent, right?
No.
Like waxing is just like,
it's
like shaving
I will
almost.
admit, one time I had the back done when I was in better shape and looked a little bit better, and holy God, it hurts like hell.
I'm sure it did.
I'm
sure it did.
And actually, we did it just for the social media content, but then we're not going to air any of it because it's a little graphic. But that hurts like hell. We'll never do it again.
Yeah.
We'll not do it.
Yeah.
Is there a way to get it on top of my head? Do one of our sponsors do that? Can we work that out? Because then there's something to discuss. The cheeks, sideburns, underarms, and neck, $80 per session or $60 per session for a package of 8. Bikini line. Full face, upper arm, lower arm, $120 a session or $90 per session if you get the package of 8. Buttocks, Brazilian, thighs, upper leg, calves, chest, full arm, stomach, and abdomen, $165 per session or $124 per session with the package of 8. Full legs, full back. All right, that's for me. We'll get that sucker right out of there. $220 per session, $165 if you do a package of 8. Full body. $510 per session for the package of 8. So full body is the way to go. So package of 8, full body, you're looking at a few grand. So they must have done a lot of people with that, right?
How long does that take?
The laser?
Yeah.
Well, maybe they have like the teleportation kind of beam. It looks like the cone of silence. You just walk in and it's all gone. Like, close your eyes, you're about to get fried. I don't know how long that takes.
I don't think so, because I think it's like a tool, because I know that you can buy, I think you can buy versions of them for home now.
Yeah. Well, also think about this for a second. I don't think the trans inmates got anywhere to go.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I think this is just an activity for the day. Right?
What a visualization. Like, where do they, like, is this in the cell? Does someone show up? And
no,
it's
I think they go somewhere because, funny you should mention this.
There's some travel
Funny
involved.
you should mention this. $67,000 for office visits and consultations. Does that mean they're coming in or going out? Now, if it's just consultations, I assume they're coming in, right? You said office visits. That means you're taking people who have been convicted of murder, rape, child molestation, and assault out of the prison to get the laser hair removal surgery. I thought it was bonkers crazy before. They're going off campus for this. Road trip.
I can't believe this. This is really unbelievable.
Hang on, it's worse. Who are you trying to impress? That's my question. Who are you? Well, I mean,
but
you're
you know
there
what they're
long
gonna
enough
say,
to get
but
desperate. Yeah.
But that's not what it's about, right? Like they would say, like, they are humans and we're helping them live their truth.
Well, hang on.
They're not animals.
Hang on. The people living their truth, I will give that benefit of the doubt to the people who are not convicted murderers, rapists, child molesters, all that.
But that's what I'm I know what you're saying. I know, I'm just saying that's what I think they're thinking. Like, hey, we can't stop them from being who they are just because they're in prison. That's the way the people in charge think.
That may be the way the people in charge think, but there's one teensy, tiny little problem with that, and that's our next story right here, which also broke today. The U.S. Department of Justice has launched a federal civil rights investigation into Washington State's policy of housing biological males in the Washington Correction Center for Women, otherwise known as the WCCW, following mounting allegations of sexual abuse, harassment, intimidation, and violence against female inmates. The letter sent Tuesday to Governor Bob Ferguson
Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon announced that the DOJ's Civil Rights Division is formally investigating whether the Department of Corrections has engaged in a pattern or practice of violating the constitutional rights of female prisoners housed at the Gig Harbor facility. The investigation comes after years of controversy surrounding Washington's gender-based prison housing policies and multiple lawsuits alleging that women were forced to live with violent male offenders who identified as female. Quote, our investigation is based on information that WCCW has failed to protect female inmates, female prisoners from sexual and physical violence, harassment, voyeurism, and intimidation from male prisoners who identify as female and who the Washington Department of Corrections has housed at WCCW, according to the DOJ. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon said the Civil Rights Division will not allow women incarcerated in jails or prisons to be subjected to unconstitutional risks of harm from male inmates. The constitutional rights of women cannot be sacrificed at the altar of appeasing unsupported and dangerous ideologies. U.S. Attorney Neil Floyd for the Western District of Washington, friend of the show, said Washington State must protect women inmates from the inherent dangers of incarcerating them with biological men. Our Constitution protects the civil rights of every American, including women who are in prison and forced by the state of Washington to live with male inmates. The federal probe will examine whether Washington violated female inmates' Eighth Amendment protections. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking to yourselves, why not civil rights protections, right? They're saying it's cruel and unusual punishment by exposing them to alleged sexual assault, rape, voyeurism, and intimidation because you're locking them in the cells with these people. The DOJ said it will review the DOC policies and practices under the Civil Rights of Institutionalized Persons Act. Now, there have been multiple cases we have covered on this show, multiple lawsuits we've covered on this show, specifically about Governor Jay Inslee in 2020 implementing that male inmates may be transferred into women's prisons if approved through a Department of Corrections gender dysphoria review process. One of the most controversial cases involves Christopher Scott Williams. If that name sounds familiar to you, he was the 6'4" biologically male inmate with convictions for child molestation and violent assault. He was transferred into the WCCW in 2021 despite previously being denied placement because of his documented history of violence against women. So they said, let's lock this guy in cells with women. Let's have him shower with women and send him to the women's prison, which is crazy, by the way.
If they have any sort of sexual assault or, like you said, violence towards women, like you're disqualified, you're done.
Yeah.
And probably shouldn't be doing this anyways, because again, they're criminals. They will abuse it.
Yes.
They will like horned up criminals that will abuse this.
Also, we have McNeil Island. Send them to the island.
And these guys have no problem lying.
Yes.
It's like
they're criminals.
It's just absurd sometimes that we have to have this conversation.
So here's the thing. Kevin and I clearly disagree on politics from time to time.
Well, a lot of the time.
A lot of the time. We disagree on politics, right? This is common sense where anybody can see it.
Because I'm a dude and I know that there are creepy, gross dudes out there that abuse all sorts of stuff to try and be a creep.
Exactly.
Like I don't know why I have to like tell people this when I'm explaining. I'm like, I'm a dude.
Yes.
There are gross dudes out there.
Yes.
Way more sexual, deviant, gross dudes than ladies.
Yes.
That's just a fact.
That's how it goes. And here's the thing. This is an 80-20 issue. This is common sense. So another female inmate, Faith Boer Smith, alleged that Williams violently attacked her inside the women's prison in August of 2025. According to reports, he grabbed her from behind, slammed her to the ground, punched and kicked her repeatedly, stomped on her while corrections officers failed to intervene because they're female, and they couldn't take on the 6'4" psycho either. She suffered visible injuries. The Independent Women's Features reported that prison officials were already aware of his violent behavior before the assault occurred. Quote, the 6'4", fully intact man, what a polite way to say that, fully intact, still has his twig and berries is what you're saying, who had been convicted of sex crimes against a child, was able to allegedly grab Boer Smith from behind, beat her, and stomp on her. The DOJ investigation also follows another case involving trans-identifying inmate Amber Faye Fox Kim, formerly Brian with a Y Fox Kim, or Brian Kim, who was transferred out of the facility after allegedly being caught having sex with female inmate. Because, hey, if you're going to be there a while, you might as well have some companionship. This guy murdered his parents. He's there for life because he murdered his parents. So he's probably thinking, hey, great way to get a date and get a little action because, hey, I'm going to be here a while, so I'll just identify as a woman. Critics say Washington officials repeatedly ignored warnings from inmates, advocates, correction staff about the dangers posed by the policy. You know what I normally say? What I normally say is you want something to change in Washington, you got to do a lawsuit about it. There have been 3 or 4 lawsuits about this already, but Washington is so stuck in their woke, insane ideology that they're not changing anything about this at all, which is absolutely crazy. Meanwhile, the WCCW has issues, allegations of misconduct, policy violations, including improper use of force, failure to protect inmates, and prolonged isolation practices. Washington Department of Corrections, as if all this wasn't bad enough, recently posted a 6-figure job opening for, quote, a gender-affirming medical specialist for inmates. For inmates. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. And we're paying for it with our taxpayer dollars. We're paying for all this. Millions of dollars. Now the Department of Justice is riding to the rescue. And the crazy thing for me is that as a conservative, I'm excited that the federal government is coming here to fix this. But the next time any Democrat says believe all women, you go, how about what's happening at the prisons? You're not doing anything about that. You're championing men. Hey, Turd Ferguson, don't talk to us about Women's Day or Women's Rights Day or Women's Voting Day or anything else. Look what you're doing to these women who are in prison. Look what you are doing to them. I hope the Justice Department comes down on these guys like a ton of bricks. It's beyond crazy. Beyond crazy. You got to drop the hammer on these guys. That's what you got to do. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Up next, some surprising election results, as some primaries were tonight, and now we're getting the results from the East Coast. We'll tell you what they were and how they might shape the balance of power when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, my friends, we are having our latest giveaway. So keep listening through the end of the show for the next time we give a keyword so you can win tickets to Bingo Loco at the Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Well, we got some big election news out of the East Coast just now. Well, not the East Coast, but out of the other part of the country right now. Representative Thomas Massie lost the primary. He is out of Congress. He lost the Kentucky 4th to Trump-endorsed candidate Ed Galrine. Now, for me, this proves that President Trump has the power and influence, and the Tucker Carlsons of the world only have bots. It was the Tim Pools, the Tucker Carlsons, the Megyn Kellys, the Candace Owens who were all talking about Thomas Massie like he's the greatest thing, even though he's a raging anti-Semite, and he votes against the GOP all the time. Now, look, do I have a problem with people who vote against their party? No. I have a problem with people who vote against their party all the time. What's the point of you being a member of the party? Take Rand Paul for a minute. Rand Paul doesn't vote against Republicans on procedural garbage. He doesn't vote against them on most of the big issues. He doesn't like spending. That's his thing. So if it's government overreach or big spending, he votes against it. Thomas Massie votes against everything. He's been in Congress for 7 terms now? He votes against everything. And now he's gone off the deep end. In fact, here's what J.D. Vance said about him not too long ago.
Independent, having your own opinions is one thing. Voting against the party on every single issue, you're eventually going to make too many enemies. And that is the problem that Thomas has had. It's not one issue. It's not 3 or 4 issues. It's that every time that we've needed Thomas for a vote, he has been completely unwilling to provide it. That is why the President of the United States has trained his ire on Thomas Massie. It's because we can never count on him for some of the most difficult votes. I wish that that weren't the case. I say that as somebody who's known Thomas well before I got into politics, but politics is politics. And when you always vote against the party, you can't expect the party to actually back you.
Exactly. And here's the other thing about Thomas Massie. He's gone into full conspiracy land. Jews run the world, anti-Israel, all that kind of stuff, on top of everything else. So you lost all your friends, you lost all the support you had, and now you lost your seat in Congress. Good riddance. You agree with me, you disagree with me, give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Here's one. Dustin from Bonnie Lake said, who approved the sex changes for inmates? Well, Dustin, funny you should mention that. We actually had Jamie Peterson. That's right, Senator Jamie Peterson, the Senate Majority Leader for the Democrats, on the show, not this session, but the previous session. That's the last time he agreed to come on the show. His staff doesn't even get back to me anymore. And during that conversation, I said, what's with paying for the surgeries for the trans inmates? And he said there was a lawsuit, and they settled it. And to settle the lawsuit, they did this, which means they gave in, which means they didn't fight it, which means they wanted to do it. So they caved. And then they decided to start doing this. In fact, a lot of this stuff was outside of the settlement itself because some trans inmate sued and wanted all these surgeries while in jail. So they settled the lawsuit. They didn't fight the lawsuit. So this are the Democrats. These are the Jamie Petersons of the world. That's where all this came from. Jay Inslee, of course, supported the whole thing because then they roll out all their rules and regulations about here's your menu, here's your buffet, here's your smorgasbord of surgeries and stuff you can have. Good question, though, Dustin. Very, very good question. Switching gears over here, now that we're looking more and more at the midterms, now that the midterms are going to be here before you know it, Democrats and Republicans are both talking about what they're going to do. And Democrats are saying, here's what we're going to do if you elect us. The most unhinged one I've heard recently is our very own Representative Pramila Jayapal, Democrat from Gaza. Here's what she told the Muslim Public Affairs Council.
And ICE and CBP have turned into completely unconstitutional agencies that have terrorized entire communities, killed U.S. citizens in our streets, and are jailing over 70,000 people every single night.
Okay, so they're jailing illegal aliens who came into this country illegally, who are criminals. So that's how many people your party let into this country? That's how many people you let come across the border, and that's only a fraction of them.
in immigrant incarceration facilities, regardless of immigration status. U.S. citizens, legal permanent residents, people with valid visas, every single night, 70,000 people. Those mass detention policies have been ruled illegal by over 420 judges.
And got overturned at the higher up ones because those were activist judges. But sure, go along with that.
Across the country, including a majority of judges who were appointed by Donald Trump.
That's not true. I don't know where you pulled that out of.
So this is not a partisan issue.
Yes, it is.
In terms of our unconstitutional actions of this administration.
It's not unconstitutional.
And the attempts to hold him accountable that are still pursued and prevailing in many cases through the lower courts.
Which they're going to lose, and it's going to be overturned by the higher courts, as all these cases have been.
Racial profiling has been used as a tool with the Supreme Court's blessing.
Oh, give me a break. You're just mad you guys can't racial profile anymore and say, oh, we like the melanin count in your skin. You can go to college and you can get a scholarship. Give me a break.
And the reenactment of racist and anti-Muslim policies like the Muslim travel ban have also contributed to restricting asylum.
Time out. The Muslim travel ban was during Trump administration number 1. And it wasn't a Muslim travel ban. It was a ban on travel from terrorist countries, Iraq, Iran, Syria, Yemen, Lebanon, you know, the garden hotspots of the world. And who fought to overturn that? Oh, right. Turd Ferguson as Attorney General. And who was his client for that? Council for American Islamic Relations, CARE, the unindicted co-conspirators in the largest U.S. terror financing trial in U.S. history of the Holy Land Foundation. The guys who said October 7th made them happy. The guys who even were too anti-Semitic for Joe Biden, and he ousted them from his anti-Semitism council. These guys who support Hamas, who lead some of these school walkouts. That's who was fighting for this. You want to be on that side? Well, I guess you're talking to the Muslim Public Affairs Group. You're probably on the side of this.
And TPS for those who need it. Immigration processing. I serve as the top Democrat on the Immigration Subcommittee. I hope to be chair come November.
Whoa, 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 whoa. If she's the chair come November on the Immigration Subcommittee, what policies do you think Representative Pramila Jayapal, the Democrat from Hamas, is going to impose?
But on immigration, what we've seen is a complete slowing of all processing, of all legal applications. In fact,
yes. Do you know why? Because you have to actually vet people and take time to do it. You know how much time it took for my son to move to Israel? You know the paperwork he had to fill out in order to do that just to go to college there? Do you know the kind of stuff he had to fill out to be in that country for 3 years? It took forever, the amount of paperwork and apostilles. You can't just get a regular notary, right? You got to go get apostles. The amount of stuff you have to go through to get that kind of stuff is insane because guess what? Other countries have rules. We apparently, oh my God, it's so horrible that the United States wants to protect its own borders.
There was recently a study put out by the Cato Institute that said that the Trump administration has cracked down on legal immigration.
Good.
Twice as much.
Good.
As on undocumented immigration.
Good.
So let's be clear that this is an attempt to rid us of all immigrants.
Whoa! There's the crazy. So you guys are done saying everything's Jim Crow 2.0? Now it's, if you immigrate to this country and you've been naturalized, we're getting rid of all of you. That's the new scare tactic. This is what it's going to be?
Regardless of immigration status. Immigration is in many ways, in my view, a testing ground. If you can get away with this for immigrants, then you can extend it to all people, as we see with the efforts around denaturalization.
Okay, they've been denaturalizing criminals. Can you say criminals? People convicted of crimes. Me personally, I think if you're convicted of a felony, boom, bye-bye. No trans surgery for you. You're out of here. Kick them out of the country. Take away their citizenship. You had a chance at the American dream. You blew it by committing crimes. I figure if you commit a felony, especially a violent felony, you're out, you're done, especially with all the fraud problems we've been having in certain immigrant communities. Carol says over on the text line, good riddance to Tom Massey, big rhino. We all need to support President Trump. You know, I think he's actually a rhino. People use that a lot, Republican in name only. Thomas Massey never voted for the Republicans. So what's the point of him being a Republican? That's Carol, you're 100% right. Tell me if you agree or disagree. What do you think about Tom Massey being out of Congress? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, I figured out where those homeless people are being stashed for the World Cup. Found it on my way home last night, totally by accident. I'll tell you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show, my friends. Now is your chance to win fantabulous prizes. We give away two tickets to Bingo Loco at the Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. So, Bingo Loco, for those of you who don't know, is an interactive stage show which takes the concept of bingo, switches it on its head by turning it into an immersive party. The show features comedian hosts that will have you on the floor laughing, DJs playing the best music, incredible prizes ranging from international holidays to musical instruments, mountains of confetti showers. That sounds awesome. Dance-offs, immersive light shows, rave rounds, and everybody's dancing. It's a lot of fun. So you can sign up for Bingo Loco. You can buy tickets, snowcasino.com. That's S-N-O, casino.com. I saw the video of it. It looks awesome. But now is your chance to win. So you text the word I give you to the number I give you. Not your name, not any other information, just the word. So today's word is jackpot, as in you can win a jackpot when you play slots at a casino. So text the word jackpot, Jackpot, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Your next chance to win is coming up tomorrow during the Ari Hoffman Show. Seems like a lot of you agree that's a good thing Thomas Massey is out. The 360 says Tom Massey is another very bad person who needed to go. Well, now he's gone. Let us know what you think about Tom Massey being out of Congress. I think it's a really good thing. I really, really do. Who needs a seat that votes with the Democrats all the time? I mean, we got enough problems with that already here in Washington. Actually, not so much. Now in our legislature, we got that pretty good. We really, really do. They did the right thing this year. Anyway, switching gears entirely for a second here. Back to Seattle. I'm driving home yesterday. And as I'm driving home yesterday, I came up on 6th Avenue and Cherry Street. For those of you who don't know the area very well up there, that's where the bail bonds thing is, right there on 6th Avenue, right near the courthouse. You always see it when you're over there. And across from it is the overpass, which is I-5, and under it is a parking lot. This parking lot used to be filled with employees who were working for the city, working for the state, working for the courthouse, working in Columbia Center, and there's not that many people working downtown anymore. So this thing has been empty for a while. In fact, I would say this thing has been empty pretty much since I started working here. How do I know it used to be full? Because I would have to go to the city for building permits when I was working as a contractor and stuff. So I know you didn't park over there because it was also kind of sketchy. I was shocked it didn't become a homeless encampment sooner. Normally I see a tent, maybe 2 tents, a few more as you're getting on to I-5, maybe that. But I went up there yesterday and it was filled with tents. And it wasn't just tents scattered haphazardly the way that homeless encampments usually look. It was more, it looked like they had designated spots because they were in perfect rows, even with their mess, like they came from somewhere else. So I immediately called Jonathan Cho. And he's like, bro, I'll get over there. I'll check it out. And then I call Andrea Suarez from We Heart Seattle. And Andrea told me, she said they cleared an encampment not too long ago in Chinatown, over near Dearborn area. And they all came over to this location. And what she said is, she said she knows the area very, very well. What she assumes is happening is that this is from the sweeps that Katie Wilson is doing, pushing people out for the third World Cup that we're having soon here in Seattle, or if you want to call it the Turd World Cup. Either way, we'll go with either one of those, patent pending on both. And so what happens is they're pushing everybody there, and then when they pick a spot, they are hoping if they stay there long enough, the city will just put fences around it and call it a city-run homeless encampment. That's what they're hoping for. So now, is this the only spot they're pushing people for the third World Cup? Clearly not. They're destroying Chinatown in the process, trying to keep everything over there. Basically, what they do is they lay out these maps, which they give out to tourists. And they say, well, if you're going to the World Cup, here's the restaurants, here's the this, here's the streets you walk down, here's the hotels. Don't go here, don't go here, don't go there, by basically not putting them on the map. They did this with the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. They did this with the Taylor Swift. They're saying, here's the best way, and if you're along that best way, that's the way the tourists are going to go. If you are not along that way, yeah, maybe somebody might find you, but you're SOL because that's where they're pushing the homeless to. I told the story before. The day of the Seahawks Super Bowl parade, the most recent one, KVI was out there along the parade route. And I made a mistake. I made a mistake where The parade went by and I didn't cross the street. So I got blocked in by the parade the farther along I went. That was a big no-no. Me and Matt Gilbert were walking together and we got blocked in by that. But you went 1 block over from the parade route. Literally 1 block over. And you saw all the riffraff. You saw all the problems. It had all just been pushed a block away off 4th Avenue. It was all pushed in either direction. So you don't see it in the parade, but it's all right there. It's all there. And so, because it was all there, what happens? You're not getting rid of the problem, you're just moving the problem. And they're doing the exact same thing for the World Cup. Now they've got these bathrooms for the World Cup, which they dropped $116,000 a piece on. $116,000 a piece they spent on these things. They did this years ago. They ended up selling the things on eBay for pennies on the dollar. We all know what's going to happen. I'll tell you my bigger concern. And actually, the new president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild, I forgot his name. We have to have him on the show. I need to interview him. He was actually warning about this, saying what he's worried about is they put all this emphasis on this one area of Seattle. They put all the cops there for the World Cup. What's the rest of the city going to look like? What's the rest of the city going to look like? I remember when I was taking the light rail from the All-Star game, and you're like, Ari was on the light rail? Yeah, I left my car somewhere. I didn't want to pay $200 for parking. So I'm taking the light rail home from the Home Run Derby. And what happens is my father-in-law and I are there. We're sitting on the train, and guys are making drug deals in front of us. Guys are selling stolen property in front of us on the light rail because you're not near the stadium, so you can do whatever the hell you want, and the criminals know that. So it's going to be open season on the rest of Seattle while the focus is on this area here. I remember years ago when I did a ride-along with the Seattle Police Department. There was an accident between the light rail and the car, and all the units of South Seattle were assigned to it, and there were only 4 of them. So all 4 of them were assigned to this, and you're hearing the calls come in from 911 for this, for that, the other thing, but they were all busy dealing with this accident. So the calls just kept coming in and coming in and coming in. How many calls are going to be coming in during the World Cup? But unfortunately, police can't respond to it because we're short hundreds of officers, thanks to the defund the police movement, thanks to the Democrats here in Washington. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news headlines. Put a smile on your face heading into your evening commute. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And to revisit a story we did yesterday, I have never had so much feedback on a good news story before. But a bunch of people were listening, talking about the Pizza Hut story. So for those of you who missed it, one of the big franchise owners of Pizza Hut is going to be putting a bunch of them back to the retro look. The red roofs, the red cups, the arcades, the jukeboxes, you name it. Maybe even the salad bar buffet, maybe all of it. But they're going to be putting about 80 of these suckers back to retro Pizza Huts because people drive from all over the place to the few remaining retro-looking Pizza Huts that are here. What's funny was the amount of people that texted me, DM me, messaged me, that you were excited about this was funny. In fact, Kevin, even friends of mine that now keep kosher that didn't used to keep kosher go, oh man, I wish I could go to the retro Pizza Huts. Those places were the best.
Yeah, what is that? Rose tinted glasses or whatever they say. I mean, nostalgia's really taken over on this one because the last time I had Pizza Hut, it was not good.
Well, so that's the question. Was it better when you were a kid and they changed the recipe or something? Because if you don't go back to the original recipe, then all you got is a rose-colored glass. See what I did there?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go back to the original recipe. And I don't, again, even as a kid, I don't know if it was ever very good. Like what you're saying is like, it's just not great pizza. But I mean, the fond memories of sitting in that restaurant with all of the red and the lampshades and the sit-down Pac-Man tabletop arcade.
Sure.
I mean, that stuff is like, there was no better time when mom and dad would say, hey, we're going to Pizza Hut tonight, and you've got a free pizza because of your Book It program.
There you go.
Longing for that sort of thing, you'll quickly realize when you get in there as an adult, it'll be funny. You'll take some pictures. You'll put them up on social media, and then you'll eat the pizza. And then you'll get diarrhea.
I think it's a little bit more than that, though, by the way, because I think what's also happening is a lot of parents are going, I want to give this to my kids. I want to give this to my grandkids. I want to go do this. But you realize you weren't the parent or the grandparent before all this. So kids may have had a good time going to this, but I can tell you from places I go with my kids, there's the places that I enjoyed as a kid. I love the video arcade games and things like that. Now that I'm kind of older, I'm just like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, right?
I've had my fill. I mean, I played that one Top Gun game, and it was awesome, or I went on the go-karts one time, but I'm kind of done. How much longer you guys want here? You mean we've only been here for 15 minutes? What are you talking about? There are some places that just don't hold up. I want to know from all of you, do you guys like the Pizza Hut idea? Are you excited about the new Pizza Huts? You let us know. You give us a call or text, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here also, apparently Soto's getting a new event venue. Live Nation and Seattle-based First Avenue Entertainment announced plans Thursday to build a new 5,500 capacity indoor music venue in Seattle's Soto neighborhood, adding to the city's entertainment infrastructure with a project targeted to open in 2029. So that means what? It's going to be about the size of the Showbox? Something like that. Like a smaller venue, but still fun. You go there. Actually, the coolest place I ever went, what's that place in Texas where Willie Nelson, all those guys get their start at? It's like a giant barn. So my wife and I, we went to Texas a few years ago. It was before COVID and all that. We go to Texas, and she goes, Leanne Rimes is playing. And I'm like, really? And she goes, I want the real Texas experience. We're going to see Leanne Rimes. Okay, fine. We'll go see Leanne Rimes. I forget the name of the venue.
Yeah, I don't remember it either.
But there's this famous place. You see the posters on the wall of everybody who got their start there. And it was pretty awesome. Not because it was Leanne Rimes, but the whole atmosphere of the place was pretty awesome. I got no problem with the Showbox. I really don't, because it's that CBGB's kind of grungy thing. I'm fine with that.
Which one, though? Are you talking the Showbox Soto or
Soto.
the Showbox at the market?
I've only been in the Soto one. I haven't been to the
Soto
other one.
one's not.
It's not like the other one?
Yeah, it's new. That one's
okay.
new. Like, it's nothing seedy.
Well, it's pretty
about
grungy for being new. I'll just say that.
You sure? You like?
Yeah.
I've been there many times. It's like concrete floor. It's pretty nice. It was built like. I mean, they took.
We have a different definition of nice.
Well,
for
I mean,
venues,
it's an old warehouse that they took over, but the one at the market is
that's like grungy.
Yeah,
I haven't been to that one before.
I think that was built in like the 1920s or the 1930s. You can feel the floor flex if you got a bunch of people jumping up and down on it.
Nice. They didn't redo that when they redid the rest of Pike's Place Market?
I think it's part of the charm of the place as well. It was. I think the floor was built that way intentionally. There's a theater like that in Portland as well.
Yeah.
And the way it's set up is like you can tell it was built around like big band in the 1930s or whatever, because it's kind of got tiered seating. And it's Art Deco kind of. It's a really cool.
That sounds interesting.
Venue.
Maybe now I'll have to look for something that's playing there. But something that cracks me up about this, it got me thinking about all the venues down there, right? How come it's still called Washington Mutual Theater, WAMU Theater? How come it's still called that? What, you can't get somebody to sponsor it? So is there really money in this? I mean, these places are all still in business, so I got to assume there's money in these kind of things, right? Anywho, they call for a venue blending traditional materials such as brick, wood, and glass with modern concert technology. They're also expected, and aside from concerts, to hold other entertainment venues like comedians and things like that. Victory Hall will be integrated into the project as a flexible lobby and event space, including programming tied to game days. That's not bad at all, actually, by the way. They expect to get a lot of their business from outside the Seattle-Tacoma area. I don't know. Is this like New York where you don't leave Manhattan and you don't go to these other things and people come to you? Is that what they're banking on? They're banking on everybody coming from the surrounding area to go to these kind of things? That'd be my guess.
Probably. The Showbox Soto was opened in September 2007. 07, yeah. And it was a warehouse that they gutted and turned into a venue.
Okay, so that makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot more sense with that. Okay. Anywho, I like event venues. I like going to new and interesting event venues. I mean, look at the ceilings of the Paramount and the Fifth Avenue Theater and all that. Which one has the dragon on it again? Is that the Paramount? I think it's the Paramount. Paramount's the one with the dragon, or Fifth Avenue's the one with the dragon? I forget.
I don't
know.
know.
I forget these things.
There's a dragon like
Chinese dragon style, you know? Like the giant dragon coming. I always forget which one has the dragon. I want to say it's the Paramount.
Yeah.
I want to say it's the Paramount.
Sure.
One's got the giant dragon. Anyway, I like new and unique venues so much that I can't remember which one's which all the time. That's not great. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.